Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Ajac Youth Apprenticeship Ready seminar. Here I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the opportunities of manufacturing and also apprenticeship. We're going to talk about the 3 steps going into apprenticeship that service schools that we work with that have our programs, and also for students that are looking into more information about manufacturing and if it's right for you. There's a great opportunity for you to get involved this summer. I'm going to switch back and forth between screens here. So as we're all still trying to capsulate around Zoom, I will do my best to make sure it goes as easy as possible, but I cannot guarantee that. But first off, I want to share our PowerPoint with you that talks to us a little bit more about the program here. And here we go. Do, do, do. Voila, Apprenticeship Ready program. Again, welcome everybody. My name is Tracey Turcotte. I'm the Youth Apprenticeship Manager with Ajac, the Aerospace Joint Apprenticeship Committee. Let me tell you a little bit about who we are and our background. We're a nonprofit organization that works with small to medium-sized companies around Washington State, and we provide training for their workforce. We are a state-funded apprenticeship program. We work with both union and non-union shops. And again, we work for those small to mid-sized manufacturing employer companies. Now, a lot of times people will see our colors or see our logo, and they always ask if we are any relation to Boeing or if we are Boeing. Well, with the help of Boeing, we were launched in 2008 to help provide training opportunities for those small to mid-sized companies to provide parts that go onto Boeing planes. Now, I say that because we started with this real big realm of aerospace, and even though it does say aerospace in our name, we serve about 50 to 50% of advanced manufacturing companies, which is great. So we have branched out into maritime, food processing, healthcare, construction trades. Pretty much when you look at anything in your room today, it comes from a manufacturing company that's out there. We are employer driven. So if you know a little bit about how apprenticeships work, and I'll talk about that in just a second, our client is the employer. So what we do is we work with over 250 employers statewide. And currently we have about 350 apprentices in the state of Washington. And you can see by the map, there's a nice diversity around the state, but a lot of it is in Western Washington area, Yakima, Spokane areas where we have programs and we have employers. So what we do is we work with the employers to find out who in their company they like to promote to go through apprenticeship training, which is nice because that makes more of a skilled workforce that they're dealing with on a day-to-day basis that's there. So what is apprenticeship? You know, a lot of times we get asked that question when we're in classrooms or if we're talking a little bit more with an employer who wants to do training that's out there. Well, apprenticeship is on-the-job training. And on-the-job training is what we call OJT. And when I'm in classes, I always say it starts with the job or it's paid on-the-job training. And generally in a classroom at 7:30 in the morning, everybody perks up when they hear that. But let me tell you on a scale of 100%, this is what an apprenticeship looks like. 93% of your time is going to be that on-the-job training. So for that student that says, hey, listen, I want to be trained, I want to be skilled up, but sitting in a classroom is not the best fit for me. I need hands-on education. 93% of your time is going to be on a shop floor, getting that on-the-job training experience from a mentor. 7% of your time is what we call related supplemental instruction, or RSI, and that's your classroom time. And that's that theory class that's there to help support the 93% of on-the-job training experience. The curriculum is built by industry leaders. It is taught also by our industry leaders that we work with in Washington State. Again, you'll get one-on-one mentorship. So while you're working in that 93% on-the-job training experience in the manufacturing floor, you're also hearing from somebody who's been doing this for many years, and they're imparting their wisdom onto you. In the state of Washington, if you're in a registered apprenticeship, you do get reduced tuition, which is nice. The wage progression is also something you look forward to. That means when you hit a certain benchmark in your time going through your apprenticeship, you will get a bump in your wage. And I'll talk about times and programs in the next slide. At the end of your training, you get a journeyman's card. So that's going to be your certificate or your diploma or your degree when it comes to apprenticeships. That is a nationally certified card that goes anywhere in the United States to say that you're certified in this credential. So with our programs, we have a myriad of different things that our adult apprentices do, such as what we have here listed out. So when we started in 2008, we launched with just traditional adult programs. And when I get done with the slide, I'm going to talk a little bit more about the youth piece, because that's why a lot of you are here, is thinking, what's the opportunities for me as a high school student, or I have a high school student, or I'm a counselor and I'm looking for some opportunities in manufacturing and apprenticeship for one of the students that I'm working for. So listed, you'll see these are our program offerings for Ajac that we have around the state. So to give you an idea of time, you'll see that it has a certain amount of hours there. If you work full-time in the state of Washington, really in any state, it's about 2,040 hours full-time. So that kind of gives you an idea of what the time frame that's there. With our program offerings, our students, adults, go through class one night a week. So they have classes on usually Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday, and they're for 4 hours. So that's at 7% of classes. First off, we have a tool and die maker. That's a 10,000 hour program. It takes someone about 5 years. So again, they're working full-time while they're also going to school one night a week. Tool and die maker is going to be the person that makes the tools that go into manufacturing, setting the dies and the molds as they go into those. The machinist is going to be one of the most popular ones that we have. It's a 4-year program or 8,000 hours, and a machinist is making the parts that go into advanced manufacturing. The term advanced manufacturing is when you work with advanced technologies on your shop floor. They're going to make the parts that go into planes. They're going to make the parts that go into construction, maritime, healthcare, food processing. So they'll be working traditionally on mills, lathes, CNC machines. They'll also be doing a lot of stuff when it comes to quality control and also inspection. The plastic process technician is the same as 8,000 hours in 4 years. That's someone who's going to be working. A machinist tends to work generally with just metals, where a plastics process technician is someone working with plastics, especially in healthcare and aerospace. This is a big industry, and there's a big rise right now in plastics. And so there's a very big job need for these technicians out there. The industrial maintenance technician, again, 8,000 hours, 4 years. This is the person that's working on the mechanical part of it. So if you're someone in school and you would like to work on the machining aspect of how a machine works, the inside of it, that's the industrial maintenance technician. So there's the machinist that puts out the parts. The industrial maintenance technician works in the engine. They work in the machine. So if you're someone who likes to work on car parts and take apart engines, put them back together, this is going to be the program for you. The CNC programmer is a 6,000 hour program for 3 years in conjunction with the machinist. The CNC programmer is the person working on script and code, sending it to the machinist. So this is going to be a lot of people that are working on computers and have that technology. The industrial manufacturing technician is an entry-level manufacturing apprenticeship offered at 3,000 hours or a year and a half at 18 months. This is when we have an employer that comes to us and says, hey, we've hired some entry-level people and we need to skill them up a little bit more on what the manufacturing floor has to offer at our shop. So it's a great year and a half entry level for them to understand all the workings of manufacturing. The last two that are listed together are a production and automation technician. So we say these are 2,000 hours, 18 months, about a year and a half, depending if you do the program while you're in school or if you have aged out of high school. And we say youth on these because we view youth as anywhere from 16 years old all the way up to 21 years old. So sometimes students might start this program in high school or they might start it afterwards, which I'll explain a little bit later on. Now, we started about 4 years ago launching programs in high schools because we really wanted to give the benefit for students in Washington State to get registered apprenticeship hours at 16 and 17 years old, working with the Department of Labor and Industries, the State Superintendent's Office, and also labor, and also our partners at Teen Worker Safety. We were able to develop a great program where students at 16 and 17 can get machining, maintenance experience right in high school. Now, it was great for 4 years, but unfortunately with COVID, we've kind of had to look at our program and change it a little bit. And if you've read our website, you'll see under the youth program, we had to adjust for COVID like a lot of companies out there. So unfortunately with some of the businesses, they had to stop hiring, kind of take a look back while they come back into the realms of a recovering economy. So we came up with Apprenticeship Ready, and we really talked to our employers and said, hey, if you're not hiring youth right now or even entry-level people, what can we do for these students in the next 2 years as they're coming around? And our employers have said, get them skilled up, get them trained, because the more they can stand out on their resumes or they can stand out for training while they were in school, that's going to be more appealing to us later on. So in the interim of having an apprenticeship program, we have Apprenticeship Ready, which takes you through the summer and school year to get you ready for apprenticeship opportunities. It's a three-step process for our Apprenticeship Ready program. It starts with a summer boot camp, which is happening this summer, and I'll talk about in the next slide. The step two is your classroom instruction and also industry exposure. This is the time we want you to start taking that 7% RSI class. We want you to take it while you're in school, so then that way we can get you skilled up and to make sure this is a good thing for you. And step three is apprenticeship at college. Right now, I would say we have about a half and half blend of our students in the last 4 years. Half have went on to apprenticeship, half have graduated from high school in our classes, and they've went on to college. And that's kind of the beauty of Apprenticeship Ready, is that you can choose your own adventure. Yes, we want you to go into apprenticeship, but if college is where you want to go, we want to support that just the same. Step one, boot camp. So this summer, as we've done for the last few summers that we've had our youth program, we've had a boot camp to get our students skilled up and ready to start working on their shop floors. But one of the things is when we talk to a lot of our stakeholders, they're like, hey, this is what we really want to focus on because it gives students great certification and exposure into the industry. So there's a couple of things we've added on this year to our boot camp. Number one, July 12th through 16th is our boot camp. It's going to be a mix between hybrid, virtual, and in person because of watching what the state's doing right now. But we definitely want to get you guys some hands-on experience and chances to see some of the manufacturing companies in action. It is Monday through Friday, 9 to 3. If you, for some reason, have something going on that week, or maybe you work or you have to be a little bit creative with your time, let us know in an email, and then that way we can work with you in that circumstance. One of the things that we're really proud to do is to provide industry recognized certification during this time. You'll have some time to work on this and also the week afterwards to finish up some of these online classes. But looking at our employers, these are the things the employers really want to see coming in from entry-level apprentices. And that's OSHA 10 safety training, first aid CPR. We did also do a COVID safety class last year that was really beneficial. Along with that, we have an employment skills class. And we do that because one of the things is we want to get you ready for the real world out there. And we take what we've learned from our employers and then also what the industries are needing out there for entry-level employment, and we put it into an employment skills class for you to take. Industry introductions. Is manufacturing an apprenticeship right for me? If you're joining us from one of our school districts that does not have one of our apprenticeship classes, that's okay because we want you to take this week to hear from some of our speakers, look at some of our activities, and to find out if this is really an industry that I want to go into. You might go through this week and say, gosh, this is really great, and I want to do this later on in life. Or you might go through this week and decide, probably not a good fit for me, but I'm glad I got to see this, and I'm really interested in maybe an industry that's around it, but not quite manufacturing. Shop Skills 101, what 21st century skills do I need for this industry? This is really cool because what we did is we worked with our educators and employers and said, what are some of the beginning classes, like those intro classes that we can give a student for our boot camp that just gets them a taste of manufacturing to again see if this is something they want to do, or to prepare our students that have classes in our school districts. We have a couple of fun things for you to do, some measuring, some math, some building, so you'll understand those aspects. This is open for all students in Washington State, space permitting. This is the cool thing is that since we're doing a hybrid of virtual and in person, all the virtual stuff we can do with as many students as we can hold in our Zoom sessions. So for you, if you're in a school district, again, that doesn't offer this program, that's okay. The only difference is we'll look at tours or different areas to see where you can go to for transportation. If it's out of your area, what we'll do is try to accommodate something locally for you to see, maybe a company that's doing manufacturing in that area that's there. Again, time, locations, and other details are to be determined. So we're working those out as we get a little bit closer to July. So we have a couple things. If you sign up for our boot camps or our apprenticeships on our website, I've been sending now weekly updates on what's going on with our boot camps. You receive a certificate of completion. So whether you go through our program or if this is just a try a trade for you for the week, you'll get a certificate at the end that you'll be able to put on a resume or your college applications. And the last but not least thing, it is no charge, it is free. So you're going to get these, we're paying for your certificates to do these. We're giving you all these classes and experiences, the certificate for you to use to buffer up your resumes and college applications, and we're not charging you. If you are going through one of our programs where we host at one of our local high schools and different school districts, which I'll go over in just a second here, you do have to go through boot camp. That is part of the Apprenticeship Ready model in your school districts. But again, if schedules don't work out, you need to miss an hour or two here, just like what you would do at work, you would coordinate with myself or our East Side program manager, Heather Collins, to let us know what days you can or cannot make it. Again, great experience for you guys. If you want to do this, did I mention it's free? So that's a huge benefit for you there while we're still trying to test out how this looks for everybody around the state. Jump on board because there's no charge. Now, step 2 is Ajax Classes. So now this is where we work with certain school districts around the state. If we could be in every school district, that'd be great, but we are a small staff, so we are very limited to some of the school districts. Right now through COVID, we're not really adding on any new schools. We're just keeping the schools that we have right now. And so then that way we can build up our employers again so we can get a good, robust employment sea of opportunities out there for you. So what happens with step 2, this is pretty much going to be your school year. So you're going to start Ajax related supplemental classes, RSI, in the fall at participating school districts. So that's that 7% of classes. We have 3 college level classes that we give you. So you'll be taking class in the fall, winter, and spring. We don't do any classes in the summer, even for adult programs. You'll get 15 college credits, which I need to add are tuition free. Again, we're not charging you for those college credits. They're transferable to most schools in Washington state. I also say most schools that have a manufacturing curriculum. And industry exposure after the first quarter in the way of tours and some interviews with our employers, and I'll explain a little bit later what that is there. But the first program we have is a production technician. So if you look at the screen here, you'll see these are the school districts where we have the production technician program. The next slide, I'll tell you a little bit more what the production technician does. Puyallup High School, Cascadia Tech area, which is the greater Vancouver area. So there's all the different areas down there that are like from Camas, all the areas in Vancouver up to Battleground, the areas that you can go to the Cascadia Tech Skill Center, we have that program there. The Renton School District, so that is your comprehensive high schools in Renton, Hazen, Renton, and Lindbergh. And alternative schools or online schools that go through Renton, you can also do this program. West Valley High School is one of our first programs that we ever had. And their program is hosted in the mornings in a combination of during the week set up with the teacher. Snow Isle Tech, the greater Snohomish area, that is our second year that we started our program. Snow Isle was signed on. So we have a big service area when it comes to Snow Isle Tech. Again, if you look at the different service area, we had students from all over that were doing that program. Now, along with that, we also have a program called for the Everett Snohomish School District, which is an after-school program. It is also hosted at Snow Isle, not to be confused. But what's nice is the Snow Isle Tech program is during the day. The Everett Snohomish program is after school. So sometimes students have a full schedule at school, but they want to take this class one night a week to kind of get a jump ahead. They can do that with the Everett Snohomish program. But if students have a very robust after-school programs or want to do this during the day, they can do that during Snow Isle. The last one that we have for production technician is Tacoma Public Schools. Tacoma Public Schools in West Valley were the first programs that we offered production technician youth apprenticeship programs at. It's an after-school program that is hosted at Lincoln High School, and it goes on Tuesdays from 3:30 to 7:30. All the schools within Tacoma Public Schools are able to do this. Alternative, credit retrieval, and online schools, you are welcome to join in that case. The production technician is going to be what I call the mini machinist. So this is going to be, again, kind of like that industrial manufacturing technician I mentioned earlier. It's basically a good look at manufacturing to make sure that, if it's machining or making products, this is a great way for the students to get started in this one. The 3 classes that you take during the school year are going to be engineering drawings, precision machining 101, and then precision machining 102. And what it is, the engineering drawings class is pretty much a good standard base for you when going into manufacturing, where you'll be looking at different print readings, learning about lines, symbols, angle projections, how to read any kind of blueprint that's out there. This was actually the class when we talked to a lot of our employers, when we had the option of a 3rd class to give for our students in high school. This is the class that a lot of the employers said, hey, we really want people to know about this. Precision Machining 101 and 102 combined together. And what this is those entry-level classes that are going to get you to understand machining principles. So the first one is looking at the basics of what are the machines that we're working on. Your drills, lathes, mills, grinders. You're going to be looking at aspects of manufacturing that are on that baseline. Precision Machining 102 is when then you're going to be working a little bit more into project-based projects that you'll be doing out there. And then you'll also be going into a lot of looking at tolerances. You're going to be looking at when you're inspecting things, looking at quality control. So you can see where 101 and 102 align together. Now for our automation technician programs, we have 3 programs around the state. 2 are over on the east side, and then we have 1 over here with Emerald Ridge High School with the Puyallup School District. So Yakima Valley Tech, the greater Yakima area, the Yakima Valley Tech is going to be the skill center that's there and all their service areas around there. Columbia Basin Tech, which is going to be the greater Moses Lake area, so their service area. If you are in any of those schools, this is a program you can go to. Emerald Ridge High School is, again, this is one part of our Puyallup School District programs that we host. So what's the automation technician? The automation technician, when I said the other one was a mini machinist, this is going to be a mini maintenance technician. So if you remember me mentioning this earlier, this is that person that really likes to work in the mechanical or the mechatronics parts of manufacturing. So their first class is going to be technical drawings, a lot like the blueprint drawings I just mentioned earlier. So theirs are going to be a little bit more on the technical side because it's not just looking at a flat piece of material. They're going to be also looking at a 3D aspect of when it comes to technical drawings. But again, looking at lines, different views, different angles of those drawings. Mechanical systems 203. This is all the elements of the mechanical system, which is pretty much what you're going to be working on in machining. Different things about forces, simple machines, energy, everything that goes into mechanical systems. Fluid power systems, this is really cool. 221 is the hydraulic systems, and that's something that you'll see in a lot of industries out there, especially if you're going to be going and working on some heavy machinery. Fluid power systems is a program and class you're going to want to have underneath your belt. After your first quarter of classes, so you are done the program in the summer, you took the first quarter of classes, what we do then is we're going to sit down with you and find out where you want to go. Do you want to be considered for an apprenticeship? Do you want to go into college? So what we want to do is get you to go and look a little bit more deeply at some of these companies that hire our students and to really understand if this is where you want to be. After the first quarter, we're also going to do a one-on-one evaluation with your teacher and to make sure that you're ready for job readiness. Do you need a little bit more time? Are you someone, if something opens up now, we could put you in front of an employer? We also do the one-on-one check-in, which is kind of nice. And even if we do that one-on-one check-in, say it's the first quarter and you say, hey, I really like this, but I'm still on the fence between going to college or going to an apprenticeship, it's totally okay. We just want to kind of do a gauge to see where you're at, and we'll check with you every quarter after that to see, how your mind has changed into what you want to do. Now, in some cases, we do have some internship opportunities. If those pop up in the area and you want to do a little bit more exploration, we'll set you up with those. And then in some cases, we might have an employment opportunity that's ready to hire you and sign you on as apprenticeship. And again, if those are just available, we'll let you know about those. Step 3 is apprenticeship. I kind of say apprenticeship and beyond because this is where you're done with all 3 Ajac classes. You've done interviews with employers. You're working to complete your 2,000 hours of on-the-job training, working to complete your journey level credentials. And then also, maybe you're done with 3 classes and it's time to graduate and go on to college. We want to help make sure that we can get you to the school and where you want to go for your future. Now, if you do the on-the-job training, which is the apprenticeship piece of it, this is a little bit of some of the things that you'd be doing at an employer. Now, once you're hired with an employer, we pretty much give you to that employer, and then we monitor from a distance because it starts with a job and they're going to be working with you one-on-one. If you've had a job before in the past, that's great. Even if you haven't, that's okay. The employers are looking to make sure if you're hungry and you're thirsty and you want to learn about this stuff, if you have that frame of mind, then you're going to be a great fit for these employment opportunities. But for the production technician, you can kind of see this is a rotation of all the different things that you're going to be doing machining basics, inspection, bench work, and it's rotated between those different months. You might have a shop that needs to put you into burr for a little bit longer than, say, inspection, or they might have you be in inspection for a little longer. It all depends on what they have going on in their shops. To go along with that is our automation technician. Again, this is going to be your mechanics part of this. It's going to be a lot of maintenance, machine setup, machine maintenance, machine repair. Can you fix that machine if something happens to it? And how do you make sure that machine won't fail in the future? There's also, we put welding in there for 1 to 3 months. There is a small welding aspect of it too. So in some different areas, if we have some welding need, some of our employers will train you on that part too. The work schedule. So now in some cases, students might start their apprenticeship while they're in school, and that's great. Some of you might start after graduation. It all goes over what is available for employment. We are a training program. We're not an employment agency. And I'll talk about that a little later on with the frequently asked questions, but we can only provide these opportunities for you. It is up to you to get hired. So we cannot guarantee any jobs, but we can put you in front of these these opportunities as they open up. If you do start during your school year, say it is November, you go to meet with an employer, they really like you and they want to hire you, that's great. By working with the state, we have a variance letter that covers your safety if you're under 18. The employer goes over that. We do regular check-ins to make sure everything is great. Again, we've been doing this for 4 years and it's been pretty great since then. You'll work with your schools and your employer on your schedule. There's 2 ways that you do this for credits. If you're doing the class during the school day, it's called work-based learning, where you'll replace part of your classes during the week for your work experience. We'll get Common Core credits, 3 of those that are listed out in your first, second, and third period classes that will go on to your graduation. If you're doing this program after school, which was listed in the earlier slides there, and you can back up to those slides and check those out. But when you work with the schools and you're doing this after school, you get something called worksite learning if your school district offers that. That means for every, I think it's 148 hours you work, you get a half a credit. And we have worksite learning coordinators at each school district that will work with you to make sure you get the credit for that. Student requirements to go into our program. So in the summer, we pretty much said 16 years old to do the program, that's great. But to do the classes during the school year and to be an opportunity to be into the cycle for apprenticeship work experience, here's a couple things you need to know. You do have to be 16 years of age. 2.0 GPA suggested. If your GPA is a little bit underneath that 2.0, that's okay, because what we want to do is look at your classes. It might have just been a weird mix of classes, and sometimes students need this class or pathway to kind of bump that up. And if we see that you're actively trying to bring up that 2.0 GPA, then we'll talk to you a little bit more about it, but don't make that as a stop that you won't do it after that. Past Algebra 1. Algebra 1 is a freshman level math class, but we say that because math is a big part of manufacturing, but it's applied math. You're going to be working with decimals, fractions, some quick math in that case. So if you like math, that's great. If you love math, that's better. If you're not really crazy about math, talk to us a little bit about it. We've had a few students who've done really well in this program that didn't really like math, but they found a way to make math relatable. If you are struggling in math, also talk to us about that to see if maybe there's different skill sets that we can move around to see if that's something where you'd be heavy at, but you do have to do a lot of math in manufacturing. Educator recommendation, we're going to talk to your educators not only about the program, but also if you're ready for that employment experience. So if an educator says, hey, we've got this student and his name is Jason, and Jason's great, but he's not really ready for that employment piece, we're going to probably wait a while to put you in front of our employers just so to make sure that you're ready and we don't not wasting anybody's time with that aspect. If you're choosing to do the work path, say you want to go into apprenticeship versus not going into college, we want to make sure you have transportation to and from the work site. If you've got transportation figured out, you're good to go, that's great. You have your own car, that's wonderful. If you're on a bus route, we need to make sure that we're looking at an employer that's going to be easy for you to get to and from. A lot of students starting out have parents help them getting back and forth to the employers, or they have a brother or sister that help them out. So we'll talk to you about that with each employment experience. Can work in Washington State if the work path is chosen. Again, you need to be able to work in the state of Washington for different levels of clarity when it comes to clearance. Pass a drug screen. I put this on here because it's something that we didn't really talk about in the beginning, but it is important. In manufacturing, 90% of companies in Washington State will drug test. So yes, it is legal for Washington State, but with these companies, they are ixnay on that. A lot of it is because there's something called traceability. And you get into an accident, anything happens, you have to have a drug test within a certain amount of time on the shop floor. But with that, with traceability means if anything goes wrong on any of these machines, planes, anything, they trace it back to every small piece of part that goes into it. So you have to make that choice. If you're going to manufacturing and this is your recreation or pastime, you have to make that choice of where you want to go for your future. Frequently asked questions. So here's a couple of questions that kind of popped up when I've done presentations the last couple months, and I thought I would share them with you. If you have a question after you've watched this video and you're like, there's something that didn't make sense, my contact information and Heather Collins' contact information is at the end for you to ask questions and send along. Can Ajac guarantee jobs to students? Unfortunately, no, we can't, as mentioned earlier. When we have an employer that says, hey, we're interested in hiring a student, sometimes it's high school, sometimes they want to do it after you've graduated or when you turn 18. We can give you those opportunities to put you in front of them, but it's up to you to get hired. Now, we are a training program, we're not an employment program. So that is something that we have to be very, very clear about. So when a student says, hey, when are you going to get me a job? The answer is that's not what we do. We give you a training program and give you the opportunities to go into these. It's a little different for us for the youth piece or the entry-level piece, since we work with manufacturing companies that nominate people on their shop floor. So yes, we work with employers to see who's out there hiring. And they actually, when we have a really good economy, it does work fast, but again, we can't guarantee that. What if I don't get hired after I graduate? This has happened with a couple students that just didn't have any employment opportunities around the area. What we'll do is that summer, keep in touch with us. We always tell students to be working to check our social media. We have a great marketing manager that posts a lot of opportunities on social media, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, the people that are hiring. But the thing is that sometimes you might need to get a little bit more work experience. So we'll recommend you to get a job for a couple months, check in with us then to see who's hiring. If you want to go into college while you're waiting, or maybe take a couple classes at your local community or technical college, that's great too. But we'll just keep to work with you and to keep in touch when opportunities open. So what if I go through boot camp and my school doesn't have a program? What's my next step? So you take the summer boot camp. You really like this. I like this apprenticeship education. I like manufacturing. The school district doesn't have one of the youth programs. What we want to do is we want to work with you your senior year. And I say that because some of our employers in different areas where we don't have youth programs still want to hire high school students. So they just have to wait till you turn 18 or you graduate. So especially I say the area of Kent. So if you've got any people from Kent here, sign up, because there's a lot of opportunities in Kent. And we have employers that will say, hey, do you work with anybody from the Kent school district? So if you went through our boot camp, you've pumped up your resume, you can talk about what you've learned there. If I've got an employer that in March of your senior year says, hey, I'm ready to hire someone, you just turned 18, we can put you in front of that employer that can then hire you and then put you into an adult apprenticeship. So you kind of see how that works, that's there. What if I go through the classes and I don't want to work and I don't want to go in an apprenticeship? This has actually been a conversation I've had a lot lately. I've got a counselor that says, hey, I got a student that really wants to go into engineering, mechanical engineering, drafting. I want to go into some CNC design classes, but I really don't want to work. My focus is going to be college. But hey, this is a chance for me to take these classes my senior year, my junior year, and get the college credit for free and get this experience. Do it, because we have students, again, I mentioned earlier, about a 50-50 that go on to college or they go on to an apprenticeship. We want you to be successful wherever you go. So Apprenticeship Ready affords that for you to do. Now, we have a couple of students who we went on, a lot of students go on to engineering after our programs. And we've had a few students when they've applied for college, they've said, hey, the admissions people really wanted to talk about this Youth Apprenticeship Ready program that I did. So it was really cool for us to be able to see how that translates into a college education for you afterwards. What's the deadline to sign up? For our boot camps, we want to get an idea by first part of June for you to do this. But again, we'll look at what we have for space availability. But the big thing, and I'll talk to you about this later on, especially if you've got a program at your school district to make sure you get into those classes. I'll talk to you guys a little bit later on about that. So we're looking about the first part of June for the deadline, but it is a rolling deadline. So once we start to get really, really full, we'll let you know. But if you say you sign up and the 1st of June, one of your buddies goes, hey, I kind of want to do that, reach out to Heather or myself and we'll see what we have for availabilities. So what's next? So say if you went through and you've watched the slideshow, you're like, this sounds good, I really like this. To be on our boot camp list, let us know either in the chat. This is recorded, so you can't do it on the chat, but email me. And it's Tracey, it's Turcotte at ajactraining.org. All our information is also on our website. So that way we can make sure you're on our live boot camp list. Along with that, you can go to our website, ajactraining.org/youth, and they'll say apply for boot camp or programs here. I monitor that. Again, we're doing some weekly updates with our students now that we're getting closer to summer to make sure you're on the list for boot camp. And we'll make sure you also have that information if you're in or outside of our school areas. If you're in our school areas and you've got a school program, either after school or during school, go talk to your school counselors now to make sure they can accommodate your schedule. So say if you are a school in Yakima and you go to Toppenish and you're like, hey, there's this automation program that I saw in this video, this really nice lady told me about in this video, and I want to make sure I get into that class next year. Go to your counselors at Toppenish. If you need to, you can write down this information and show it to them. Tell them it's Ajac. They'll work with Yakima Valley Tech to get you into that program that's there. Now, say if it's an after-school program where it does nothing to your school day because it's all after school, still tell your counselors. We've got some great counselors out there that can get you to look at worksite learning credit or to make sure that maybe There's some cases with your school districts where you can get out of school a little early or maybe come in a little late. So that way you're open up for a little bit more employment with your schools and employer that's there. This is where we have questions at. Obviously, since this is recorded, you're probably like, well, I wrote down a couple things. Again, I'll show you my email at the end of this. So then that way you can get some ideas there. So this is what I'm going to do is I'm going to bear with me as I do a little technology switch around here. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to show a video for you. This is a 5-minute video and it is from a company called Edge Factor. And Edge Factor, what they do is they're wonderful. They go around and show different industries for school districts around this different states that have our program. They did a video about 2.5 years ago with our youth apprentices. So we want you to see a little bit more about our youth apprentices in action and so give you kind of a better idea of what we do with our programs. So here we go. Share screen. Here is, let's see, video here. And, all right. I am going to, I always forget this part, share sound. Make sure that that's there. And I feel like I should have some waiting music for you guys. If for some reason you watch this and you don't hear the sound, you can always find this on our website, but I thought it'd be great since I've got you here, you guys can watch this video.
This beachfront Verbo is about to become part of
But first, we have an ad from our sponsors.
When I was a little girl, I used to love to play with Legos. I built something out of my own imagination, and I loved it.
When I was younger, I liked doing a little bit of wiring and stuff. I rebuilt an engine, Chevy 350.
My mom actually gave me the idea. It's like, hey, you should go into engineering. I started to take engineering design classes in my freshman year, and I loved it. I learned the Youth Apprenticeship Ajac through my engineering design teacher.
So I heard about the opportunity for this through my mom. She just mentioned that this was the first year of the apprenticeship through Ajac.
The Aerospace Joint Apprenticeship Committee is a nonprofit apprenticeship service provider or an intermediary, and our job is to work with the employers in the aerospace and advanced manufacturing industries to implement and develop apprenticeship programs in employer-demanded occupations by location.
So I decided to take a chance and do it because I wanted to challenge myself and get to know more about engineering. I had to fill out an application, get selected into the program. I had to go through a series of interviews. So similar to speed dating, Full Gauge was the first one that called me back. 3 days later, I managed to get hired, and I've been here ever since.
I was fortunate enough to get here at AMT, which is a really big, great company.
This was my first job, and I didn't have too much of the manufacturing or machining backgrounds.
I haven't had any experience with any CNC at all, or machining or manufacturing. What I would have thought of manufacturing was like just put on a part and it goes down the conveyor belt, you know? But it's a lot more than that.
Now I know a lot more after 5 months of working here. I like to being able to work in the field of aerospace and create airplane parts. I was impressed.
Well, just being able to take a raw material and turn it into a finished part, just using simple machining operations, it really gets me going.
The Youth Apprentice classes are in the evenings. Raquel's able to go to class at night, and she learns things at school and then able to come in the very next day and then start to apply those things actually in a job setting.
Every day, I just think about this opportunity I was given, and I just want to take it to the fullest extent. go in the Ajax classes and learn as much as I can.
We are looking for the types of individuals that are willing to learn. It's really that simple. Are you willing to show up to work on time, ready to go, willing to learn and make parts and work with equipment?
The classes that I take after school, sometimes they really improve what I know and really gives me a foothold on my future career.
There's really no limit of what you can do through this company and program.
In the state of Washington, if you are an apprentice, you have 50% reduced tuition. You have college credit attached to each one of your classes.
So it's on-the-job training. So I learn while I earn.
As their skills increase, so does their pay at a certain step. Once they go through the program, they have the opportunity to earn up to $28,000 in a 2,000-hour program.
It's a major head start out, an amazing experience.
Summertime, I was full-time. Even part-time, I was still making good money.
For me, I'm always going to keep striving.
And I plan on staying here as long as I can.
I love that video. It's kind of neat to see our students and how they're doing after the fact there. All right, so that shows you a little bit more of our students that are in action. They were in the, actually that was the second year of our program that we had students in. All right, I'm going to share again to go back to our PowerPoint and a couple other little wrap up things as we end the presentation. All right. That's where the video goes. It's easier for me to do it the old school way. Application deadline, again, we were talking about that it's like the beginning part of June. If you are one of the students in the YV Tech area, they would like to have you just enroll right ahead at yvtech.com/enroll. Again, work with your counselors for more information on that. Here is the contact information. If you're in Eastern Washington, Moses Lake, if you're in Yakima area for those programs, Heather Collins is our regional program manager. She can help you with any questions you have on those programs. Over on the Western Washington side, pretty much the I-5 corridor, that's me. So send me an email with any questions, clarification you have, or if you want to do a separate phone call to talk a little bit more about it. That's kind of the big thing. So here's the whys. Like somebody says, so why, what is the biggest reason why you would want someone to take either the boot camp, the Apprenticeship Ready classes that are offered to our students? With the economy, with COVID-19, and even the aerospace industry right now, it's what we call a recession-looking time. And what happens is there's peaks and valleys in what happens with these places. So sometimes you'll see really high business, sometimes you'll see low. But when you're in the lows, they go up high and they will shoot off fast. And so that means all of these manufacturing companies are going to look for employees later on. It's really important to look at how you're doing during your high school time and what you're doing to set you apart from all the other students that'll be applying for employment or college experiences after this. I had an employer put it to me just perfectly about a month ago when we were explaining, hey, here's what we're doing amid of COVID-19 and the aerospace industry crash. We have looked at an apprenticeship ready model that gets students more trained before we put them in front of employers. Employers like that, they're very backing of this. But this one employer said this really very efficiently. He goes, when I go to hire somebody in the next couple of years out of college, and I see that during COVID-19 or during this time when they could have just been sitting back, not doing anything, they take this additional apprenticeship ready class, they took the boot camps, and that's listed on their resumes. It makes you stand out for the right reasons. So if you're one of these students that says, hey, listen, I have this opportunity to get these free college credits, this free boot camp certification that's out there, and I'm going to do that. In your future for college, jobs, internships, even apprenticeships, it's a great way to make you more focused and also a little bit more showcased when you're applying for these opportunities that are out there. Again, thank you guys so much for being with us today. We appreciate it. Thanks for watching the video. Our contact information is there. Go to our website, sign up there so you can get on the list for boot camp. We'll get you in all of the regular publications that are going out about boot camp. Talk to your counselors at school, talk to your parents. Send us a question or two if you have them, and hopefully we'll see you this summer at the Ajax boot camps. Thanks for being with us today. Take care, everybody.